Hi everyone, welcome to GBE Reviews. I'm your host Joe, and today I'm going to be talking about Kaibutsu Oujo, which seems to be referred to as Princess Resurrection, though I really think Monster Princess makes more sense. Alright, so a little background. Kaibutsu Oujo is a 26-episode, single-season anime produced by Madhouse in 2007. It's an adaptation of a manga sharing the same name. A few things to note. The first being that the manga had 20 volumes, most of which were not published as of the airing of the anime. Second, the manga is generally considered far more violent and graphic than the anime, which is much tamer in comparison. Now that we have a little background on the anime, let's talk about the story. The story follows Hiro, who is a freshman boy whose sister has become a maid in a new town. Having been separated from his sister, he moves to the new town in order to live with her in the house she's caring for. On the way, he meets Hime and Furanderu, and thus sets the stage of the series. The story is honestly a mixed bag. Though there is an overarching story that plays out throughout the series, some of the episodes feel very reminiscent of a Monster of the Week deal, where the characters encounter a new monster that appears once and is never seen again. Barring the addition of new characters over time, many of the episodes feel interchangeable, and because of this the actual story feels watered down. Don't get me wrong, there is definitely some solid development here. If you take out the Monster of the Week filler type episodes, this trims down to a solid single-season anime with around 13 to 14 episodes that flows together quite well and builds a solid story arc. The premise of the story is far from unique, but it does enough to differentiate itself through fun and unique characters that don't follow the simple pattern of main character and female protagonist fall in love, main character gets really strong, etc. Unfortunately, the story suffers from pacing. A good example would be many of the important plot points settling way too quickly, which can be especially frustrating considering there was enough fluff episodes they could have cut one or two of them and instead focused on the more crucial moments. The ending is also weak in that there is no solid conclusion. This anime did that stupid thing where it quote-unquote ended, but then had 2 extra bonus episodes. The ending of the series without the bonus episodes was decent. Not terribly satisfying, but at least decent. Then the second to last OVA actually had what I considered a funny and far more solid ending. Unfortunately, the last OVA went back to the Monster of the Week formula and didn't add anything at all to the series minus a watering down of the prior episode's ending. This isn't the first time I've seen this, but it was definitely disappointing. The Kaibutsu Oujo soundtrack is actually quite good. It has everything from violin rondos to jazzy piano and industrial metal. If you're looking for a solid and diverse OST, you can't really go wrong with this one. Here are a few of the songs from the soundtrack to give you an idea of the kind of music featured in this anime. The art in this anime isn't all that unique. I would say it's average, but not bad considering when it was produced. The character models are fairly standard and the fighting scenes are nothing to write home about. Now the main selling point of this anime are the characters. The main character is Hiro. He is a standard high school freshman, nothing all that unique and remarkable about him at all. In fact, considering this is an anime about fighting, and he is technically a member of Hime's Royal Soldiers, it is almost ironic how weak and useless he is. Basically, his only recourse is to stand in the way of danger, oftentimes getting killed. In that way, the anime is quite realistic and doesn't suffer from the typical trope where a main character gains fighting prowess just because he needs it for the story to be interesting. The main female character is Hime. She is a standard female lead in these types of stories. A bit cold and non-compassionate, but comes through in a pinch. One thing I find neat is that she seems to fight with a different weapon every episode, minus major episodes where she means business, where she fights with her sword. My favorite character has to be Philanderu. She is a chibi maid character who is an android and has freakish strength. She is a major source of comedy because all she ever says is "huga," and yet she can be completely understood by everyone around her. She always has these really hilarious facial expressions, and got me laughing more times than I care to admit. The rest of the members of the cast are fairly generic. You have Lisa, who is driven by vengeance, and Eri, who is prim and proper and generally apathetic but also comes through in a pinch. Those two have a love-hate relationship, typical in this kind of anime because one is a werewolf and the other is a vampire. Alright, so now let's answer the most important question. Should you watch this anime? Let's review some of the good and bad elements of Kaibutsu Oujo and who should watch this anime. The kind of people who would like this anime, aka the good. Do you like anime with a mix of horror and slapstick comedy that doesn't stick too heavily to one or the other? Do you enjoy a cast of strong female leads where the only weak and generally useless character is the main male lead? Do you enjoy the monster of the week style you would see in a long-running anime such as Gintama? The kind of people who would dislike this anime, aka the bad. Do you prefer a story without much filler that progresses each episode? Do you dislike serious anime mixed with comedy? Are you looking for a solid romance arc that comes to a satisfying conclusion? Do you prefer your main characters to be badass and strong and overcome enemies while growing stronger? Do you dislike when your anime isn't given a concrete and solid ending? So in summary, Kaibutsu Oujo is a fair anime with some neat concepts that could have been better if they trimmed out the fluff and focused more attention on the major plot moments of the story. If you're not bothered by the monster of the week element and just want to kick back and enjoy girls kicking monsters' asses, you might want to give this one a watch. Well, that's pretty much it. Hopefully you found this review helpful, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of GBE Reviews. Again, I'm your host Joe, saying to you, Jane.
Oh, please don't let me die.